Mean Girls needs no introduction. The 2014 comedy written by Tina Fey became the most quoted movie of its generation.
I can't go out. I'm sick. Boo, you whore.
Personally, I feel like it's because the world yearns for matriarchy, but I digress. Everyone knows the plastics, everyone knows the burn book, everyone knows Regina George as the villain. Or is that the laziest read of the entire movie? Naturally, I was drawn to this movie because I live for a female lead, but on a deeper level, because of my environment, religious, sexist, you name it, I was always observing interpersonal relationships and the power dynamics between them. Regina George is a teenage girl that cuts through acceptance to create the standard that determines her value. And I've come to the conclusion that this is actually the point the movie punishes her for. The reality that she chose to be a predator in a world handing out only two roles: to eat or to be eaten. Hey, my name is Theodora, a self-declared television expert, beauty nerd, and lover of all things feminine. Sometimes I analyze cinema through character study. If that's your thing, stick around. In this video, I'm going to argue that Regina George gets read as a villain, when really she's a case study in what happens when a girl or a woman stops overgiving and starts taking up space. We're going to start with the frame, the curse of the first daughter, because Regina George is a first daughter and I don't know why we never talk about it. Then walk through the evidence. The nipple cutouts in the tank top moment, the boys who are always under her spell, the master bedroom she negotiates out of her parents, the comeback from her takedown, and the politics of everything. Then we're going to get into where that same freedom stopped and why, and close with what I think the actual assignment is for the rest of us to learn from Regina George. Regina George as a boundary study wearing a pink cardigan. Now, if the movie wants you to believe Regina is simply cruel, it needs you to skip the parts where cruelty and freedom sometimes look identical from the outside, especially when they're coming from a girl or a woman. Now, I may refer to woman in this video sometimes, but it's important to remember that Regina is actually a 16-year-old teenage girl, which makes everything she does all the more impressive. Queen Regina, our meanest mean girl, the boss of the plastics. The movie hands you an easy villain. Regina George is manipulative, she's vain, she's cruel to Gretchen, she's cruel to Katie, she's cruel to basically anyone who gets close enough. The narrative treats this as the whole story. The lesson Katie has to learn is how not to become her. But the movie is telling the story through Katie, a girl who is still learning how to want things without apologizing for it. Which means every time Regina wants something plainly, the story codes it as a villainy, because that's the only frame the narrator has for it yet. Hello, unreliable narrator. Watch how this movie introduces her.
Regina George is flawless. She has 2 Fendi purses and a silver Lexus.
I hear her hair is insured for $10,000.
I hear she does car commercials in Japan. One time, she punched me in the face. It was awesome.
Before Regina says a word, the entire school is already talking about her. Her hair, her body, her status. Half of it is clearly untrue. She's discussed like a celebrity before she's even a character. And she never once tries to shrink out of frame. She lets herself be looked at. She knows who she is, she knows what she wants, and she doesn't spend her time cultivating relatability for other people's acceptance. And in a world that rewards girls for being agreeable, Regina is aggressively unagreeable. She's not aiming to be selected, approved, or quietly appreciated. She's dominating the room. I am especially appreciative of this trait because I noticed in myself that I'm subconsciously prone to self-sabotage and shrinking myself the moment I sense that my audience is expanding. Maybe because I was watched critically in my formative years, but Regina doesn't carry that sensitivity at all. And if she does, it clearly doesn't matter. Attention doesn't scare her. It just confirms what she already believed about herself. Being the main character comes with being seen. She's not fearless because she has no insecurities, because she clearly does. There's a scene when she's in her bedroom with her friends and they're picking at, all their insecurities, and she talks about her pores, but she never leads with that, showing that there's no point trying to be relatable to people who have already put you on a pedestal. There's a dynamic that the movie completely ignores, and I want to touch on that. Regina as a first daughter. And from what we know sociologically, that's the child who gets handed responsibility and image management before she's old enough. That's the curse of parentification. If you didn't grow up as a first daughter, it might sound like just a birth order, but it isn't. Like, it's a role. It comes with its own psychology. That's the context I don't think the movie or most of, the Mean Girls viewers bring into the room when they watch Regina. And most women who grow up like that spend years trying to unlearn it. Regina George, meanish as she is, transmutes that problem. And that's the most interesting thing about her. There's a specific family shape sitting underneath all of this, an absent father and a mother who is over-involved. Regina's dad barely registers in the movies, and her mom fills the entire space he leaves behind. Typically, in that setup, the mother's people-pleasing doesn't get redirected to the daughter, it gets redirected to the husband. The whole dynamic organizes around keeping him happy. Now, Regina doesn't let that happen to her. She takes her mother's people-pleasing and redirects it towards herself instead. Her mother isn't managing a marriage through her, she's managing Regina over her marriage. This is a girl who looked at the one relationship in her house, designed to serve someone else, and pointed it at herself. Also consider this: if your mother is offering you alcohol and condoms and telling you that you keep her young, then she was always the problem to begin with. And you might as well take control if somebody needs to be in control,
Not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. Right, Regina? Please stop talking. Okay.
Like, Regina's mom is clearly a people pleaser, and Regina leaned the opposite way of her mom, and she's just like, I'm pleasing myself. Now compare that to literally every other girl in this movie. Gretchen would rather be miserable in the plastics than go unnoticed. Karen is completely aloof, or maybe she's just playing dumb. Like, I have this theory that Karen is like a secret genius that just plays dumb. Katie spends the whole movie becoming whoever she thinks will be loved, and Janice, well, Janice is stuck in the past. Janice and Damian cut holes into Regina's tank top to humiliate her in front of the entire school. It's staged as the moment Regina finally gets taken down, and Regina doesn't even flinch. She turns public humiliation into a fashion statement and just keeps walking. This is a girl who has already done the internal work of not needing a room's approval to feel secure in her own body. If you grew up managing everyone's perception of you, that scene should land differently for you than it does for everyone else. Most of us would have spiraled as a direct attempt at taking us down, but Regina just keeps moving. Regina understood personal branding before that was even a language people used. Pink on Wednesdays, her monogram clothes, signature necklace, her whole visual world all speak the same language. And I'm saying this for like a regular girl in a high school. Obviously celebrities do this, but just to be like a regular person, that's why the blouse moment works as well as it does. A weaker brand gets damaged by public humiliation. Regina is strong enough to absorb it and turn it into a trend instead. Regina is never chasing a man's approval. She's never performing desirability for the sake of being chosen. She wants what she wants. And the men in this movie are accessories to that. For a first daughter, this is radical because when you've spent your life anticipating everyone else's needs, a parent, a sibling, eventually a romantic interest, you learn to disappear into relationships. Regina never does that. This shows up everywhere with her, not just with men. She goes all out for Halloween. She goes all out for the Christmas talent show. She's not managing how easy or innocent she looks to anyone watching. She doesn't care about being read as a slut because in a world built to judge women either way, sexual autonomy matters more than the label. Neither the saint nor the sinner wins in a patriarchal world, so you might as well want what you want. Now, one of my favorite facts of this movie, the fact that Regina has the master bedroom in her house, the biggest room, the best space in a house that she doesn't even own yet. Like,
This is your room? It was my parents' room, but I made them trade me.
think about how many of us were taught to take the smallest portion. It's fine, I don't need much. That overgivers carry into apartment to salary negotiations for the rest of their lives. Like, this 16-year-old girl asked for the best room in her house and she got it just because she decided like, yeah, I deserve this, so it's mine now. Watch how differently Regina responds to being attacked compared to Janice. The moment Regina has the full picture of what happened to her, she plans the counterattack strategy and she executes it swiftly. When she gets hit by a bus, literally, she comes back, cast crutches and all, and she is still Regina. Resilience, the refusal to let an attack become an identity, and I admire her so much for it. Cause let me have a bad day. There's a moment early on where Jason hits on Katie with some sleazy line and Regina cuts straight through it. She translates exactly what he's doing and then tells him to buzz off.
Would you like us to assign someone to butter your muffin?
Oh, what? Is he bothering you? Jason, why are you such a skis?
I'm just being friendly.
You do not come to a party at my house with Gretchen and then scam on some poor innocent girl right in front of us 3 days later. She's not interested. So you can go shave your back now.
That's a good rule to live by, to speak up in uncomfortable, suggestive situations for yourself. When Regina senses potential, she brings it close. That's exactly what she does with Katie. She could read her as competition and pulls her into the plastics. A woman confident enough to recruit the person who could unseat her. It's almost the same move that Janice makes with Katie. Spot someone useful, bring them close, use them for what you need. Regina taught us a masterclass in politics. One of her real strengths as a dictator is turning threats into assets instead of eliminating them. Gretchen is richer than her. Karen is prettier than her. Katie has a more interesting background than either of them. Like every one of those girls, like in the plastics, is a threat to Regina's position. And instead of pushing them out, she pulls them in. She doesn't just remove the threat. She turns her competitors into her minions, then uses each of them to raise her own status. Gretchen's money buys the group's access. Karen's beauty fills out the group image. Katie's novelty makes the group interesting again. Regina collects what everyone else has and wears it as her own. Now I'm about to get a little critical of Queen Regina because she spends the movie visibly hostile towards anyone she reads as homosexual, ignoring Damien, icing out Janice. It reads like deflection. The loudest voice policing everyone else's identity is often the one most afraid of their own. So if we are pulling lessons from Regina George, let's, focus on the one that she also needed to learn. Hiding who you are and attacking other people to protect that secret isn't strength. And I have a theory that only lesbians fight over men, and the way she wanted Aaron back after Katie expresses her desire towards him, it might be about, wanting the boy back, or it might be about showing dominance over Katie, which all translates as sexual to me, but what do I know? There's more than one outlet for aggression though, and eventually Regina finds a better one. After everything falls apart, she joins the lacrosse team, ruining people's lives for actually hitting something on a field. Everyone could stand to follow her example here. Taking your aggression out through sports does a lot of less damage to the world. And not to sound like I'm reaching, but I have another theory and that is that her sexuality gets a little easier to access in that space as well. Now, under the plot of Mean Girls, every single character wants exactly what Regina has: influence, access, and self-assurance. Nobody actually objects to the power, they object to not being the ones possessing it. That's why the second Janice has a real shot at destroying Regina, she takes it without hesitation. That is envy. And it's why Katie, the second she actually gets a taste of the power Regina used to hold, forgets the revenge plot entirely. She doesn't want Regina gone anymore, she wants to take Regina's place. Karen and Gretchen never take a real shot at that kind of power. They settle for proximity.
Okay, so you're not mad at Regina? God, no. Oh, okay, good, because Regina wanted me to give you this.
Even Regina's own mother falls into this. She's so enamored with her daughter's ferocity that she just bends to it. So the movie isn't really Regina versus everyone else. It's everyone else at every level, friend, enemy, family, organizing themselves around the one person who never had to ask for what she wanted. She just took it. Even the burn book only existed because multiple people contributed to it. Everyone who ever scribbled something cruel into that book wanted the exact same release that she had. We get at the other thing I actually learned from the burn book. I actually have my own burn book. What? It helps to blow off steam. Intelligent people are often opinionated about everyone around them because they're observant. The healthy version of that, write it down, get it off your chest. A lot of actual therapy practices encourage. Just make sure that you keep it somewhere safe afterwards. I actually tried it this week. On the 11th of August, I had not the best day with my service providers. Like, as you can see, my nails are not done right now. Long story, but I basically wrote down how I felt about everything, and I swear the very next day I had quite a wonderful day. So it's a good practice that Regina has introduced to us to just rest whatever, however we feel, and just throw it in the burn book. Thank you, Regina. As soon as the original plastics were finished, a new generation rose to take their place immediately, which tells you something, okay? It's better to start thinking and acting in your own favor now rather than waiting, because high school never ends. Regina has every tool necessary to rise to the top of any food chain. Whether she uses that for good or evil is up to her, but the tools themselves were never the problem. And if high school never ends, if there are always popular people and less popular people wherever you go, the real choice is whether you understand the game or you keep pretending that it's not being played. I mean, at the end of the day, this is the animal kingdom, and they refer to that over and over again. And Regina's power works because she understands something. Social power is often about composure, staying desirable, staying in control of the narrative. She also understands performance. Her femininity is curated. Both Janice and the plastics put real effort into how they look. Heavy makeup, styled hair, earrings, hair clips, accessories. The only real difference is that the plastics reads as hyperfeminine, while Janice doesn't. I believe she's more like emo-ish, I think. And notice how the movie resolves that at the end. The plastics take up masculine hobbies, no offense to lacrosse. Regina becomes an athlete. Everyone starts dressing more casually, more modestly. Janice's appearance never changes because the movie was never trying to fix her. It was only trying to fix hyperfemininity. I don't know why people are so threatened by feminine power. It's so weird. This is what I learned from Regina instead. The combination of hyperfemininity and real socio-psychological currency, it's revolutionary and it's wildly underestimated. And this video is about a pattern that I see everywhere. We raise girls, especially first daughters, to overgive by default, to manage the room before managing their own wants. And then when a woman shows up who skipped that training entirely, who just takes up space without apologizing for any of it, we don't call her free, we call her a mean girl. Regina George is what happens when a girl never learned to shrink. It's rare and it's worth studying. So no, Regina George is not a typical eldest daughter, and that is exactly why she is so fascinating, especially to me. She's the fierce first daughter, and in a culture that expects girls to be selfless, Regina's refusal is unforgettable. I don't think we should become Regina George, but I do think some of us, especially eldest daughters, could stand to borrow a little of her audacity. And that concludes my very biased feelings about Regina George. If you made it this far, you might as well subscribe. Let me know in the comments, do you think that Mean Girls actually criticizes cruelty, or does it punish girls and women who enjoy being feminine and powerful? I would love to read your version of this. And thank you so much for watching.